Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast, and your host, as always, Skaggs, and yours truly, the Captain. And every week that passes by, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So why don't you tell Doom Nation what we're talking about today, Mr. Skaggs?
It's Groundhog Day.
We got him!
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. Quite literally, Trump has been indicted again. I feel like you ever seen the movie with Bill Murray where it's the same day keeps happening, keeps reliving the same thing over and over again. So we're going to talk about Trump's most recent indictment by the Federal Department of Justice and Jack Smith. I got a lot to go over here, man. I had a pretty crazy day today in general, and I tried reading through the court paperwork. I got about 20 pages in. I did that for you, the people.
Yeah, got 19 pages more than I did.
There you go. We'll maybe read a little bit of it. We got videos and some reactions all around the whole thing.
And then, of course, giving our 2 cents as well.
Yeah, let's start off perhaps with maybe a blanket statement of what do you think about the whole thing so far from the little digging you did into it?
Man, clearly two-tier justice system. Clearly, Trump's not worried. We shared that little article in our private chat about how the death penalty might be involved. This is just clearly a ploy of a dictator to arrest and silence and stifle their greatest political opponent. We're really seeing that there's nothing they won't do to stop Donald Trump. Now, once again, I've always said if Trump is guilty and, we catch him red-handed, not some anonymous whistleblower bullshit, let the guy rot. Let him burn if he's actually guilty. But I don't see that he's guilty. This is only hurting the establishment more. It's strengthening Trump, definitely strengthening his base for sure. And it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes. I don't want to get too conspiratorial with it. Some of that old Q stuff kind of rings a bell with what's going on now, but that's all in the past. I mean, this story is much bigger than talking about conspiracies. So I definitely
hard information.
Yeah, here. Exactly. It's wild. It's only going to get worse. There's that meme of Nicolas Cage and Pasquale in the car, and it's like Nicolas Cage has this like scared look on his face, and it's like all the people who thought my conspiracy theories were bullshit over the past 3 to 4 years, and then it's Pasquale smiling, going, "It's only gonna get worse." That's what I feel like is going on.
There's been a couple of really good memes lately.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw what Bill Barr, the former attorney general, right, I think said. He said he'd jump off a bridge if Trump became president again.
Oh, well.
Someone made a great meme. It was Peter Parker and Harry Osborn, and he was like, "Look, I was already going to vote for Trump. You don't have to convince me." Of Bill Barr in response to Bill Barr saying, "I'm going to jump off a bridge." I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's hysterical. I also my last statement on this, and then I'll let you go. I'm sorry. We've been hearing a lot of people saying we might not have a 2024 election.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This is the first instance where I'm like, if they can't get him in prison, or if they wait till the election to get him in prison so the Democrat nominee could run unopposed or something like that, this is the first time I had a feeling where I'm like, holy shit, maybe the end goal is not to have a 2024 election.
Or what is an election, right?
Yes.
Or, maybe there'll be one, like there'll be cast your ballots and things like that, but is there anything behind it? Like what's exactly happening?
Neither side is ever going to accept the outcome ever again.
Yeah, right. And that's what we mean here. Like, I don't know if anyone will ever accept the results of an election ever again on either side. I agree. Like, I actually had that feeling. We didn't discuss this ahead of time. I had that feeling myself. Now I heard Colonel Douglas McGregor say that. I think he was kind of like the first person,
first person I heard about it.
Say that, and he's like a notable person. He's a colonel, former colonel, part of the government. Roseanne also said that. Roseanne's a bit out there, but I like her. She's funny. Yeah, but I also had the thought too. I'm like, you know, maybe there is something to that, or maybe
I kind of feel like,
right?
You know, like between the climate change crisis that, you know, they'll try and put on us, you know, either some, you know, World War III starting, China invading Taiwan, potentially invading Taiwan. They didn't invade yet, you know, and then all these indictments against Trump. I just feel like it's all building up that they have they got everything covered. If we can't indict Trump, World War III, state of emergency, suspend the election.
They're stacking a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, if we can't start World War III and we can't stop Trump, climate crisis, can't leave your house, we can't go vote, we can't count the votes, whatever. You know, just whatever they could do for that end result to not have an election, or just an election that involves Donald Trump.
Yeah, again, just going back to it, I don't even know if they even need to do that. Again, I think we're at a point now, breaking point.
True, yeah.
Or a crossroads where, we might get to a point where no matter the outcome, the other side ain't going to believe it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's kind of like because
and
of
how long before it becomes static, you know?
Yeah. So we'll see.
What do you think?
Real quick before we get into the actual information about this, my initial reaction is I do think there is obviously some selective application of justice here. Presidents have all been criminals, right? And it seems like they're just really going hard after this one guy, which is interesting in of itself. I think there's some naked admission there, perhaps, of why they're trying to apply the law all of a sudden to one guy and not to everybody else. I read through 22 pages, and I have to be honest with you, I think Trump is in trouble this time.
Yeah.
For real. Yes. And we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it. I'll read a little bit of it. I try to read it as unbiased as I possibly can, at the same time keeping in mind that I'm reading a court document filed by the United States government prosecutor. So take that for what it's worth, but that is what it is, right? So we'll get into it and we'll give our takes later. But I do think perhaps this one could be it for Trump. We'll see.
We'll see.
I hope I'm wrong, but there's some interesting stuff in there that I'll point to as we go. Any other thoughts before I kind of want to start rolling some videos and things here?
What you piggybacking off of what you started with was this is a clear message with, you know, the selective justice that you're talking about, that it's just a clear message to everyone that any outside politician is not welcome. If you're going to be an outsider and a game changer and authentic, we're going to make sure we get rid of you. Just like, didn't you hear that the Biden administration denied RFK Jr. Secret Service bodyguards?
Yeah, that was interesting, right? Yeah. And then people tried to make his tweet about it, that his tweet was a dog whistle to white nationalists. Because he wrote in it 14 and some other number, and those apparently are numbers that white nationalists use.
Of course.
So people are trying to, bluing on people, trying to make him out to be a whatever he is. So anyway, let's get into this, man. So I got videos here for you folks, and I'll lay them out ahead of time because it's going to be a lot here. There's a lot of information. I do recommend everybody actually try and read the indictment or whatever. It's on your own and do your own research. Just because, God damn it, we don't have the time to read 45 pages. We both do this as a side job, not our real job, right? Yeah. We're trying to do the best we can here. So we're going to play Jack Smith, his press conference. I think after that, I'll read a little bit from the indictment itself because he actually says also for people to read it at the end. We got an interesting tweet after that, and then I want to play Trump's response to this whole thing. We also have Mike Pence's response to this whole thing, which I think is applicable, and then someone who's just really interesting in general and always has a really cool response to everything, Vivek Ramaswamy. So we're going to start with Jack Smith here and his
Jack Sparrow.
His press conference. It is just about 2 minutes long, and he kind of lays out the whole thing. Let me know if you could see this, Cap. All
right. Good afternoon. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. This indictment was voted by a grand jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida, and I invite everyone to read it in full to understand the scope and the gravity of the crimes charged. The men and women of the United States intelligence community and our armed forces dedicate their lives to protecting our nation and its people. Our laws that protect national defense information are critical to the safety and security of the United States, and they must be enforced. Violations of those laws put our country at risk. Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world.
That's setting a
we
very
have
good
one
example.
set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Except
applying
Biden.
Those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of an investigation. Nothing more and nothing less. The prosecutors in my office are among the most talented and experienced in the Department of Justice. They have investigated this case hewing to the highest ethical standards, and they will continue to do so as this case proceeds. It's very important for me to note that the defendants in this case must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. To that end, my office will seek a speedy trial.
He does really harp on that a lot here, which is rare in these scenarios where like they harp on like you're innocent until proven guilty beyond the shadow of a reasonable doubt. I think, and as we get into this, we're kind of going to have our own trial here, a court case. I think he's already laying the groundwork, perhaps, for him not doing a good job and this not working. Perhaps he's trying to already lay the groundwork for covering his own ass.
I was just thinking to myself, I wish he could have a polygraph on him the entire 2 minutes that he was speaking.
He seems nervous. He seems nervous. I don't know if this guy has given many like major press conferences like this before, but you could kind of hear in his voice he seems a little bit nervous. So
to be unbiased, also the MAGA crowd is a large crowd. Trump has a huge following, and this is only going to strengthen that following, and he is now an enemy of all those people. So you know, it is a bit of an oh shit moment, because I mean, as we see, like the crazier it gets in politics, like people are going to have to come out and they're going to get a little exposed, and they've never been exposed before.
Yeah, he's dipping his toe into the pool of this whole thing, right? Yeah. Like now everybody knows who he is. He's getting involved. Yeah, he's putting his stamp, his mark on
and I also think they're talking about like, oh, you're guilty until proven innocent. Just to go back and be like, look, they said he's innocent until proven guilty, because you spend 2 seconds on Twitter, he's already guilty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I just think for himself. Yeah. He's the guy that's running this show, right? So I think perhaps he's already starting to lay the groundwork to, or at least to give himself the appearance of being impartial. You know, even though he's the one who wrote this entire document, which I'm going to read from in a minute. So let's keep going. So about 30 seconds left.
In this matter, consistent with the public interest and the rights of the accused. We very much look forward to presenting our case to a jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida. In conclusion, I would like to thank the dedicated public servants of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with whom my office is conducting this investigation, and who work tirelessly every day upholding the rule of law in our country. I'm deeply proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Thank you very much.
All right. I guess it wasn't actually the same clip that I meant to show the other day. But that's okay. That's he gets a little bit into it. But anyway, the one that I did share on go check it out on our social media. He does say at the end, like, go read it for yourself. And
he started off by saying to read it, so
sure. So let me read a little bit of this, man, and then anytime you feel like chiming in, chime in. It's a little bit awkward because it's on the doc, like I was saying before, instead of internet thing. So this is the actual filing, and it says the grand jury charges that all times material to this indictment are on about dates and the exact times before The defendant, Donald J. Trump, was the 45th president, blah, blah, blah. The defendant lost the 2020 presidential election. Despite having lost, defendant was determined to remain in power. So for more than 2 months following Election Day on November 3rd, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election and that he had actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew that they were false. I think the whole crux of this whole thing that we're going to have to sort through here is that he's stating the claims are false and Trump knew that they were false.
But how do you prove that?
That's a great question, which we'll get into perhaps a little bit later. I did try and highlight a couple things that maybe can try and prove that. But this, I do want to say that I feel like this entire thing has been misrepresented from everyone on all sides so far. And I feel like most people just said shit and didn't actually read what any of this says, where some people are saying they're trying to criminalize Trump's free speech and they're going after him for January 6th. No, that's really not what's happening here. They're trying to say that he made claims, false claims, that he knew were false, right? That's literally it. That's the crux of the whole thing. And here is why we think he knew that these things were false and he said them anyway. Okay, so the defendant repeatedly and widely disseminated them anyway to make his knowingly false claims appear legitimate, create an internal national atmosphere of mistrust and anger, and erode public faith in the administration of the election. The defendant had a right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election and even to claim falsely that there had been outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. He was also entitled to formally challenge the results of the election through lawful and appropriate means, such as seeking recounts or audits of the popular vote in states or filing lawsuits challenging ballots and procedures. Indeed, in many cases, the defendant did pursue these methods of contesting the election results. His efforts to change the outcome in any state through recount, audits, or legal challenges were uniformly unsuccessful.
Let me just pause you real quick there. That is true, but also remember these recounts took place during the COVID era, and there was all types of fuckery going on. They were sealing up windows so people couldn't see them count. The people who were supposed to supervise the tables all of a sudden had to stay 100 feet away from the table, instead of the 6 feet minimum and stuff to oversee what the ballot counters
This was in the height of COVID paranoia, right?
Yes, it was. So even though these are the legitimate laws that are on the books and that everyone has followed and that he has followed, but all those audits and recounts were affected in some way by a quote unquote crisis.
I also think that last line there, his efforts to change the outcome in any state through recounts, audits, or legal challenges were uniformly unsuccessful. I think that statement is a little bit dishonest. He says our legal challenges were uniformly unsuccessful. Yeah, a lot of them were unsuccessful because they got immediately denied being heard by certain courts. So, imagine if you have a beef and you want to file a lawsuit and you go to the court and be like, I want to file this lawsuit. And they're like, no, this is ridiculous. We're not going to file the lawsuit. And then someone turns around and says, see, he was wrong. It was uniformly unsuccessful. Okay, well, you didn't even hear my case. Right. So how are you going to turn around and say that it was uniformly unsuccessful? So I think that's a little bit dishonest there. So Jack Smith then goes on to kind of lay out the charges against him, where he says, a conspiracy to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function by which the results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified by the federal government in violation of whatever, some code. A conspiracy to corruptly obstruct and impede the January 6th congressional proceeding at which the collected results of the presidential election are counted and certified in violation of the code. A conspiracy against the right to vote and to have one's vote counted in violation of the code. Each of these conspiracies, which built on the widespread mistrust the defendant was creating through pervasive and destabilizing lies about election fraud, targeted a bedrock function of the government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of presidential election. Count one, is the allegations contained blah 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 or allegedly fully covered. Okay, so the conspiracy so it literally says here the conspiracy. This is trying to lay out like a RICO case. This thing of like a bunch of people were conspiring to defraud the country. So the conspiracy is from on or about November 14, 2020 through January 20, 2021 in the District of Columbia and elsewhere. The defendant, Donald J. Trump, did knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with co-conspirators known and unknown to the grand jury to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function by which the results of the election are collected, counted, and certified by the federal government. Purpose of the conspiracy. The purpose of the conspiracy was to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election by using knowingly false claims of election fraud to obstruct the federal government function by which those results are collected, counted, and certified. I marked here because I'm going to skip ahead after this, but I think a term in this we should focus on is knowingly. It's already been used many times. That's kind of what the entire thing started on. Like, he knew it
was a Q term, which is funny.
Yeah, they're saying like he knew it wasn't rigged, and he said it was rigged anyway. Go ahead.
But Hillary Clinton said the 2016 election was rigged. She said she knew it was rigged. What it says, though, what it doesn't say about those co-conspirators who he agreed with and conspired with, some of these were paid attorneys to advise him on such matters. You can't be a co-conspirator if you are if you're a legal advisor.
So that's something I'm questioning, and I think probably there's like 5 co-conspirators. My guess it's Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and
I don't know who.
That's my guess. Yeah. Who. But I was wondering that too. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're sitting there and talking with your legal team, coming up with like a plan, a legal action plan, is that? Yeah, that, like by nature,
it's not.
But I'm saying, but even by nature and definition, it is conspiring. You're sitting there,
you're with your legal counsel. If I kill somebody, right? I shoot somebody on the street, right?
Right.
I get a lawyer, and now according to them, I would be conspiring with my lawyer to defraud the court into proving me innocent. The my attorney's entire purpose of representing me is to either A, get me off scot-free as innocent, or B, lessen my term. Instead of manslaughter, it was an accident, and I only get 5 years in prison or something like that, right? And you have a legal, what is it called when like your client attorney privileges? So he has privilege with his attorneys and his legal advisors on information that doesn't need to be shared. How can you be conspiring when you are, you know what I mean? Like you have these attorneys who obviously must be doing some type of research. They are advising him saying, yeah, we think the election was rigged. We think you should go ahead and make these claims. Now, whether it was Giuliani and Powell, no matter how crazy these people are, they do have the legal authority. They were hired to advise. I don't see how that's a conspiracy when your legal representation is advised. Basically, they're co-conspirators because they advised him to go against towing the line. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he's trying to say that they knew what they were saying is false, and they were conspiring to say that it wasn't false anyway. I do, however, I'm not a legal expert, right? The comparison you were making before, like if you killed somebody and now you're in a trial for murder, are you not allowed to try and get out of it? Like, you are, right? You are allowed, like, even if you know you did it,
how many times have you heard,
like O.J. Simpson?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
how many times have you heard of these murder trials, and just because a cop didn't use a glove or something, it gets thrown out, or the lawyer makes this point that nullifies the argument and the judge just throws out the case? you kill 2 people and you get to walk away scot-free on a technical.
We're getting into like technicalities here of how you could win a court case, and we're not experts by any stretch of imagination. But yeah, I was thinking about that. True. And like I've never heard of them turning around and filing a charge against you or trying to get out of, or
to prove your innocence, or to prove
something
your point.
like that, to prove your point.
So
it's a bit bizarre.
Yes, at the end of the day, we wrap in the First Amendment, he had the right to say these things. It did not matter.
And they even admit that.
Right. He has the right to say this stuff. Now, if they could prove the fraud, they kept talking about fraud. What type of fraud was created to, to possibly, if somebody voted against certifying the election and you found out that guy was bamboozled, I could see there's some type of fraud there. You know what I'm saying? But like, for the co-conspirator, for his attorneys and legal advisors to be co-conspirators, he was allowed to say this. I don't see that there was any type of fraud. He was allowed to do recounts. We've had every election. 2016, Hillary Clinton made these claims. Go back to Bush and Al Gore. They had the recount. They made these claims that the election was wrong. And so it's not the first time, and it ain't the last time that this has happened.
Yeah, it's not even the first time that some of this. I'll get into specifics later of things that were done also that electors were kind of like changed. This happened back in Nixon's days also.
Yes,
like
Nixon had something very similar.
I think the interesting crux of this whole thing is that it's a bit subjective. They're kind of trying to make the point that Trump knew that the election wasn't rigged. But I think that's different between like him believing that it wasn't rigged. Like, and I'm gonna and again, out of transparency, I'm gonna like show examples of people telling him that it wasn't rigged. Now that doesn't mean that he didn't actually still believe that it was rigged, right? Like anyone could come to me, like Garrett could come to me and say, "Hey, I think there's hollow earth in Antarctica," and I could be like, "Okay, now like in a court of law, someone would be like, you see, Garrett told you, there was, you know what I mean? So you knew." I'm like, yeah, but I didn't believe him. Right. Like, so what do you?
You also have a choice not to believe these people.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So here's something. Did you listen to Tim Pool's last podcast about this?
No, I didn't. I didn't kind of want to try and bias myself. So
that's fine. I had listened to it. The podcasts I listened to, they're not recording right now. So I was listening to him, and I'm going to steal this right from his show.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Works cited.
Yes, works cited. Tim Pool. You believe Donald Trump's an idiot, correct?
Do I believe me personally?
Yes. I'm talking to you right now, but okay. There's a lot of people that I think there's some type of lag. All right, no big deal. People believe Donald Trump's an idiot. Okay. Now, put into Donald Trump's ego. We know how Trump operates, how he thinks he's the best. No way he could lose. There's not a fiber of his being that thinks he lost.
Yeah, I agree.
Even like outside of him sitting there and counting the ballots himself on like live TV, you know what I'm saying? Like outside of that, he truly believes he won.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There is no back to what I'm saying, where they're saying he knew it's not true. What does that mean exactly? What do you mean?
I think that's the iron law of woke projection. He knew it was rigged, or they knew that it wasn't a fair election, but they have to keep shoving it down your throat that he knowingly did this. So when me and you are out on the street talking about this, we're going to run into some left-wing loony going, he knowingly did this.
Sure.
He knowingly did this.
Sure. I think, and that's why I said earlier, like we should focus on the word knowingly, because knowingly and like this is an accusation. And I guess, to be fair, like it's going to go to trial and maybe Trump will be able to defend himself. But like, if you're saying someone knowingly did something, it's almost like you already asked them like, hey, did you do it because you knew what you were doing or not? Like they're making an accusation.
Right. Does the killer, like the killer knowingly killed this person?
Yeah, like, have you talked to him yet? Have you asked him? You know, like you're saying that very confidently. But yeah, again, there's a difference. Like this is the last time I'll say this. Like there's just been someone telling me something and then me like knowing they told me that, but then me just not agreeing with it and then continuing to do whatever. Like I'm going to still continue to debate Garrett on Antarctica. I don't believe him just because he told me.
And on top of, well, I guess an attempt to defraud the U.S. government, they still certified the election. He didn't stop anything. Can we argue that he caused January 6th? On this podcast, no, but you can argue that he started it. He did, you know, an attempt to obstruct, sure. An attempt to defraud, sure. But to defraud the government and stuff, nobody followed him in this. You know what I mean? Like he still didn't get his way. But on top of that, you're still in
devil's
trouble.
Advocate, I think they're trying to charge him for making the attempt to do it.
Like I said earlier, this is a clear message to any outsiders that if you don't want to play ball and you don't want to toe the line, and this is how we can punish you, because they can't assassinate him, because we would know who did it. You know, we've said this before. Yeah. So now it's character assassination. Now it's assassinate his bank account the best we can, assassinate his chances at being reelected, assassinate this election, whatever they can do to hurt him. I'm sorry, one last point, bringing in co-conspirators. If you really want to put pressure on someone, I don't sit there and torture you. I grab your wife. I grab somebody you care about. Now you're responsible for other people getting hurt, other people in this situation losing their jobs. Trump's a billionaire. They could sue him to the moon and back, and he'd still have enough money to make you and I richer than we ever could imagine being. Meanwhile, these regular co-conspirators go bankrupt because now I helped Trump. I got roped into this.
And they don't have the popular backing support of 80
these
million
people could rot. Yeah.
They're just random folk who he worked with. Now, like someone leans on them. They're not popular. They don't have a following. Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, unless he comes to their aid. And then if he does, isn't he then maybe going to get charged for that too? Trying to like help someone else, help him.
And think if they lean on you hard enough, you'll just say whatever you need to say to get out of it. Trump's guilty. He knew it. True. He knew it. We all knew it.
Yeah. So I kind of want to. I think there's an anarchist lesson here for conservatives. In going back to what Jack was saying, and then even what you're saying here, how people will just kind of like fold if they're pressed. Even what Jack Smith's saying, like, well, we believe in like the rule of Constitution and the rule of law and all of the hardworking people at the Department of Justice, and like this religious way that they talk about these things, that they believe in like the piety of the system. When me and you look at it, we're like, no, you don't.
No.
And even if you do, like, it's a construct. You guys made it up. If you don't follow those rules you so claim to believe in,
you'll be in Donald Trump's seat.
But I'm just saying, like, God doesn't strike you with lightning. You don't disappear. The simulation doesn't end. Like, it's all the whole system is like works on faith, and if people believe in it or not.
Yeah.
So like they could just say that.
It's like Bitcoin. If we say it's worth $1 million a coin, guess what? Everybody's Bitcoin just blew up.
Bitcoin is more real sometimes than the religion of
the
statism.
U.S. government.
And the religion of statism is. And like these people are saying these things all the time, but then they obviously don't believe in it.
Yeah.
I think Jack Smith was saying something along the lines of like, we have to treat presidents equally under the law. Like, okay, well, they obviously don't though.
Yeah.
Where are all the other criminal charges?
We have
the crazy shit the other presidents have done. If that really was true, this wouldn't be the first time a president's been charged for a thing the way Trump has.
Which
Barack
is
Obama,
scary.
real quick, let me make a point.
Go ahead.
The most obvious case is Barack Obama drone striked an American citizen in Yemen and killed him. That is an extrajudicious murder of an American citizen by the president.
By their own president, yeah.
Nothing. No one really even knows about that.
Hillary Clinton wiped all her emails. Trump's being indicted for the same exact thing, for trying to delete footage from Mar-a-Lago and shit like that. So we just had a month of bombshell reports how Joe Biden has been lying to the people about everything Burisma and Hunter Biden. Everything they've said about Hunter Biden has been proven in the past month to be a lie. And Joe Biden has it's out there. He's taken bribes from foreign nationals and Ukraine. And okay, so if we're going to hold people above the law, I loved it the day that they announced the indictment was coming out, because you go on Twitter and everybody's going, we got him. I'm like, cool, do Biden now.
Right. Yeah. And again, this points back to what I'm saying before. It really is a religion that these people believe in. And and it's just a blind faith thing. And to be honest with you, that's the way I look at it. That is what it is. I'm just aware of that is what it is. So I don't like fall for the, although we might point something out like, oh my God, the hypocrisy behind them doing this. And I understand like what's going on here. And so do they, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these actors, like, they know exactly what they're doing. They understand that they wield the power of government and they're not afraid to use it. They use, like a little propaganda on top to make it palatable for everyone else.
A little?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they make it palatable for everyone else. And there's some value in that because most people don't see it that way. A lot of people will see it. I was like, well, it must be, right? They're like Mark Zuckerberg. Well, if the FBI comes to me, they're a reputable organization. I'm going to listen to what they have to say. And that's the way most people are. That's what I'm trying to get through to you here. Like, no, that's just not the way life works. Once you have power, you can kind of do whatever you want. And you don't get struck by lightning if you break the rules when you're in charge of the rules. So I think people need to really, really understand that point throughout all of this stuff. You want to keep going here? I think there's a couple other really interesting points.
You got a couple of good ones, yeah.
Let's go. So there's manner and means here. It says the defendant's conspiracy to impair, obstruct, defeat the federal government function through dishonesty, fraud, and deceit included the following manner and means. So they're going to get into like what he actually did.
For a quick second, I thought you said memes, and I was like, whoa, he's in trouble for sending memes.
Yeah, memes were a part of it. So this is trying to say like what he actually did to conspire, to impair, obstruct, whatever. The defendant and co-conspirators used knowingly false claims of election fraud to get the state legislators and election officials to subvert the legitimate election results and change electoral votes for the defendant's opponent, Joe Biden.
Hold on.
Sure.
But they didn't get them to subvert their votes. They didn't. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Use knowingly false claims of election to get state. Yeah, right. It is.
They didn't get them to change their votes or subvert their votes.
It's framed as if this occurred.
It didn't, right? Yeah, that was the point I was making before. I don't know if I made it clear enough. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. False claims or not.
If this said they tried to get that to happen, it's different than saying it did happen. Yeah, that's good.
I mean, am I wrong? They tried to get it to happen. They didn't get it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so keep going. That is on the pretext of baseless fraud claims. The defendant pushed officials in certain states to ignore the popular vote, disenfranchise millions of voters, dismiss legitimate electors, and ultimately cause the ascertainment of and voting by illegitimate electors in favor of the defendant. The defendant and co-conspirators organized fraudulent slates of electors in 7 targeted states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, attempting to mimic the procedures that legitimate electors were supposed to follow under the Constitution and other federal and state laws. This included causing the fraudulent electors to meet on the day appointed by federal law on which legitimate electors were to gather and cast their votes, cast fraudulent votes for the defendant, and sign certificates falsely representing that they were legitimate electors. This man, goddamn it, this gets right back into what I was saying, right? Like, the system is whatever you believe it is, right? So they're arguing, well, he got fake people who are electors and said that they're the real people, but no, we have the real people. Yeah. At the end of the day, maybe an anarchist, I'm like, it is whatever you believe.
All of you are fake. Yeah.
So you make the better argument to me.
I'm president.
Who the more legitimate person is, and if I agree, then that is who it is. But in reality, it's not any of them. It's all just a construct to begin with, anyway. Some fraudulent electors were tricked into participating based on the understanding that their votes would only be used if the defendant succeeded in outcome determinative lawsuits within their state. which the defendant never did. Kind of goes back to what you were saying before. The defendant and co-conspirators then caused these fraudulent electors to transmit their false certificates to the vice president and other government officials to be counted at the certification proceeding on January 6th. So what this is saying is that the conspiracy team of Trump and probably Giuliani got people to basically, I guess, recruited people to be like electors, convinced them, hey, we're going to overturn this thing through the courts. And when we do, you guys are going to be the real electors and the courts are going to prove that. And you'll see, it'll all work out in the end. And then got them to sign certificates saying that they were the real electors. And then they gave those certificates to Mike Pence, I guess, on January 6th, saying we are the real electors and we voted for Trump. That is pretty heinous, I have to admit, if that's what happened. It is kind of like you're trying to trick Mike Pence. Now we're talking about Mike Pence, right? Who has obviously the last couple of weeks been exposed.
Flipped. If he hasn't,
I don't even want to get into like him being exposed as going against Trump in this thing. There is some value in that. Let's just take, God damn it, his position on the war in Ukraine. He took the most basic deep state position that could possibly be taken. That has nothing.
Said the quiet part out loud.
Right. That has nothing to do with this, but that kind of shows you what kind of person he really is underneath it all. I also will criticize Trump for picking him as vice president. I think one of Trump's my biggest criticism of it would be pick shit people, right? That put in charge.
I think now that this is unfolding the way it's unfolding, I think he was poorly advised by, bad actors to put these people in the positions that they were in.
Could be.
Sure. I think the one thing he didn't
deep
have
state tried to advise him the wrong way.
Yeah, I think the one thing he didn't have a grasp on, because remember, he was a businessman, not a politician, was like, my VP could be flipped. My VP could be a bad, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had all the best intentions and he was just misguided. You know what I mean? That might have been where he's probably his weakest.
Be flipped. We just covered how AOC, we thought, just flipped to some extent, right? Like, this happens. So I think there's definitely some bad judgment of character on Trump's part with a lot of these guys. But I also think just some of them were obvious deep state guys, like Bill Barr. So it is, or John Bolton, like that he picked, the war hawk guy. So there's definitely some bad judgment on Trump's part. And I think it's valuable to make sure you call that out. I'm not one of these fucking Trump cultists who, like, he never does anything wrong. It's all trust the plan and this and that.
Well, the other side of that is he picked them to expose them.
Come on. Yeah. We'll maybe get into that later. I have a good tweet of the week about that. I'm going to read two more paragraphs here from this, and then I'm going to skip ahead to, like, examples I thought were actually pretty compelling. It says the defendant and co-conspirators attempted to use the power and authority of the Justice Department to conduct sham election crime investigations and to send a letter to targeted states that falsely claimed the Justice Department had identified significant concerns that may have impacted the election outcome, that sought to advance the defendant's fraudulent elector plan by using the Justice Department's authority to falsely present the fraudulent electors as a valid alternative to the legitimate electors, and that urged on behalf of the Justice Department the targeted states' legislatures to convene to create the opportunity to choose the fraudulent electors over the legitimate electors. Boy, that is some word salad there. I think
they were going to use his guys and not our guys.
Yeah, and that there was, and I think he's trying to insinuate that they sent a fake letter. Maybe Trump sent a letter on, like,
how come we
Justice letterhead?
Yeah,
like, hey, the Department of Justice thinks there's something wrong with the election.
Do you ever remember hearing
behind
that?
The keyboard? Like,
yeah. I don't really, that story doesn't really ring a bell. I could be wrong. Please, if I am wrong and somebody remembers anything about this letter, let me know. But I don't really remember. Why are we just hearing about a fake letter now?
Again, I only read up to page 20. Maybe the letter's in here later on. Maybe we can't see that because it's evidence or something. Maybe it will be presented. But at the end of the day, that's also a piece of paper or a thing. Like, that can't just be created. At the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about people here who are risking going to nuclear war with Vladimir Putin over the Donbass.
Yeah, who says it?
So, like, who's to say they can't Photoshop something.
A deep state agent made that letter and made it look like it came from Trump.
And I'm not saying that they did, but I'm just saying, again, like a lot of this is operating on faith in the system and that the system is doing the right thing here, perhaps. Real quick, so the defendant and co-conspirators attempted to enlist the vice president to use his ceremonial role at the January 6th certification proceeding to fraudulently alter the election results. Real quick, I want to make another point about how statism really is a religion. They do things for ceremony, not for actual like practical purpose. It's very religious, right? Like, I don't know. You go to church, you take the Eucharist. Is it really the body of God? I didn't know. It's a piece of bread. But like you do it because you believe in Jesus and religion. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but they're saying how the vice president there is just ceremonial. Like it doesn't even actually mean anything for real. And now that people like try to actually make it mean something for real and do something, they're heretics. They should be cast out and put in chains or something like that. The whole thing is just, again, I'm looking at this through the lens of an anarchist. I think it's bizarre.
Banana
Republic, bizarre.
Yep.
First, using knowingly false claims of election fraud. I highlighted knowingly again. The defendant and co-conspirators attempted to convince the vice president to use the defendant's fraudulent electors, reject legitimate electoral votes, or send legitimate electoral votes to state legislatures for review rather than counting them. When that failed on the morning of January 6th, the defendant and co-conspirators repeated knowingly false claims of election fraud to gathered supporters, falsely told them that the vice president had the authority to and might alter the election results, and directed them to the Capitol to obstruct the certification proceedings and exert pressure on the vice president to take the fraudulent elections he had previously refused. Your hand is up. Yes, I call on you.
Mike Pence openly said he does not have the power to alter the election results. So falsely told them that the vice president had the authority to and might alter the election results, was immediately squashed when Mike Pence made a public statement saying, I do not have the power to do that. So a claim that he's being found guilty of was proven false before any, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think that's what they're trying to use as their rationale, that he knew that this couldn't happen because of what you're saying.
Not a legal expert, everyone.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And to be fair, man, this is like really dense. I'm surprised I've made it this far in reading this. I mean, I don't know that he directed them to the Capitol to obstruct a certification proceeding. Gosh, I mean, he told them to go and peacefully and patriotically protest.
Yeah. And go home when he...
Maybe I missed it. Did he say that? I don't remember. I don't think so.
I remember him telling everybody to go home. That's the tweet that got him banned.
Did he say, like, go and block the certification? No. I don't remember that. I could be wrong here. If I am, please call me out on it in the comments or something. Last part I'll read here before I skip ahead to, like, 2 or 3 interesting tidbits. After it became public on the afternoon of January 6th, the vice president would not fraudulently alter the election results. Is actually referencing what you just said. After it became public on the afternoon of January 6th that he couldn't do it, a large and angry crowd, including many individuals whom the defendant had deceived into believing that the vice president could and might change their election results, violently attacked the Capitol and halted the proceeding. As violence ensued, the defendant and co-conspirators exploited the disruption by redoubling efforts to levy false claims of election fraud and convince members of Congress to further delay the certification based on these claims.
Oh, there is a great sentence there. Go back up. I'm sorry. There is a great sentence there that everybody who is locked up in January for January 6th needs to have explained. The vice president would not fraudulently alter the election results. A large angry crowd, including many individuals whom the defendant had deceived. So even though the government knows these people were deceived, they locked up these people who were deceived.
Yeah, good point. Right.
There's people in jail right now for January 6th. They've been in jail for almost full 3 years now. The government right here is declaring that these people were deceived by the defendant. But I know you were lied into doing this, but we're still going to fucking lock you up and give you the longest sentence we could give you.
Yeah. Let's be real here. They're also omitting the obvious, in my point, chance that there were agent provocateurs in the crowd, which made the situation get worse than it was. I'm not saying there wasn't idiots with illusions of grandeur in there as well, who actually really thought this was going to happen, but this is kind of like they're self-fulfilling their own prophecy to an extent. Like they're just completely
of course they got to make themselves look right,
like Ray Epps or anything like that. I'm
going to
skip ahead.
Let's get on to one of these points.
They use one of one of the examples they use of how Trump deliberately disregarded the truth was someone telling him, like people telling him stuff. And this one I found hysterical. They said the director of national intelligence, the defendant's the defendant's, who's Trump is the defendant, his principal advisor on intelligence matters related to national security, disabused the defendant of the notion that the intelligence community's findings regarding foreign interference would change the outcome of the election. So this is saying that the director of national intelligence told Trump, listen, man, like, it's not rigged. Like no one's rigging it. No one's getting involved in it from outside. That regarding foreign interference would change the outcome of the election. Basically telling him outside influencers haven't rigged the election or changed it or anything like that.
Like they did in 2016. They were only able to do it that year.
So the funny part about it, why I circled this, because that's what the directors of national intelligence and all the heads of the intelligence agencies said about 2016, that they could do that, right? That Russia did hack the election and change it. I also just want to make the point that the intelligence agency people, this is kind of using like the director of national intelligence as a reputable person checking Trump and the idea behind it, like the Office of Intelligence and whatnot. They just had said before this, what was it, 30-something of them or whatever, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was fake. And whatnot, and we obviously know that it wasn't, and it's true, and that it was Russian disinformation. So, like, this is trying to use them as reputable when
this gatekeeper of knowledge.
I doubt that they are reputable in any form, just because they haven't proved themselves to be. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, so point H here: state and federal courts, the neutral arbiters responsible for ensuring the fair and even-handed administration of election laws, rejected every outcome determinative post-election lawsuit filed by the defendant, his co-conspirators and allies, providing the defendant real-time notice that his allegations were meritless. How could you really give someone notice that their allegations were meritless when you denied them the opportunity to have a trial or investigation to prove it? That's what this is saying. This is saying that the courts rejected every outcome determinative post-election lawsuit. They rejected the lawsuits, meaning that no lawsuit took place, no investigation happened, and that them rejecting it proves to Trump that there was no fraud. How? How does that make sense?
At the end of the day, the government is now trying, if you speak out against us, if you question us, we will try and lock you up. You know what I mean? These people, the defendant is providing the defendant real-time notice that his allegations were meritless. Was the court saying, you have no merit in this case, we're not going to
We're not going to even hear the case.
Right, exactly.
But the case is, I want to find out if this was rigged or not.
Exactly. And simply because the powers that be said this was not rigged, they threw out those court cases.
Right. It's circular logic at the end of the day, right? Yes. And they're spinning that as he knew. He knew it wasn't rigged because we told him we can't hear the cases of him trying to figure out if it was rigged or not.
He didn't listen to us, so he better be punished.
Look, man, in my opinion, that makes sense to me that no, Trump didn't know it was rigged. I mean, people said to him it wasn't rigged, but he didn't believe that it wasn't rigged. He wants
evidence. Shocking.
He believed it was
wants
rigged.
Accountability from the government.
Again, I underlined, that he, despite the fact that he knew, and in many cases had been informed directly, but that doesn't mean he believed that. Again, there's a difference between someone telling you something and you believing.
You really think Trump has one hair on his head that believes that this election wasn't rigged? Come on.
I'll stop here at the last interesting thing. I thought part B, the defendant, so Trump and co-conspirator one, who I think is Giuliani, asked the Arizona House Speaker to call the legislature into session to hold a hearing based on their claims of election fraud. The Arizona House Speaker refused, stating that doing so would require a 2/3 vote of its members, and he would not allow it without actual evidence of fraud. So if that's true,
don't you need the hearing to present the evidence?
Maybe, but I think I thought this was actually compelling because they didn't actually give him any evidence of fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They basically just told him, hey, there's fraud, like Trump and Giuliani. Hey, there's fraud. You have to convene a special session to hearing based on the claims of election fraud, right? The coalition to hold a hearing based on their claims of election fraud. He's saying, look, I can't do it because they haven't actually given me any evidence of fraud. Mm-hmm. I just think that's interesting because, all right, like if just show him what you have, that you want there to be a hearing of.
We always, during that time, we always were like, why are we holding on to this? Just drop the hammer now. Like, so.
Yeah. Okay.
This could be why.
One more point here. On November 16, 2020, on the defendant's behalf, his executive assistant sent co-conspirator 3 and others a document containing bullet points critical of certain voting machine company, writing, co-conspirator 3 responding, see attached, please include as is or almost as is in lawsuits. He's saying include this in the lawsuit. Co-conspirator 3 responded 9 minutes later, writing, it must go in all suits in Georgia and Pennsylvania immediately with the fraud claim that requires the entire election to be set aside in those states and machines impounded for non-partisan professional inspection. They're basically saying we want to have the machines inspected.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Yeah. Like, I think a big part of this case, they're going to have Dominion's going to Dominion voting machine, right? They're going to have to get involved.
Right, but that's that could be who they're referencing here. Perhaps.
It is who they're referencing.
Maybe, is that where maybe Georgia's like I don't like see how this is being. My point of why I circle this, like I don't see how this is being cited as some sort of evidence.
Nefarious, thing.
Right, like this actually proves against, like, hey man, they're just asking, can we like inspect some of these machines, see what's going on, and then that didn't happen. Therefore, how does he believe that, or again, how does he knowingly know that it wasn't rigged if, like, at almost every turn, any chance he tries to like look into a thing or his team tries to look into a thing, he's shot down before it actually even happens.
And now they're holding it against him.
Sure. It would be a different story, in my opinion, if this was here and then it was approved, they looked into it, and this was all like hidden, right? Like this is all secret. And then the court comes back, or the legislature or whoever comes back to Trump. It's like, look, dude, we did your whole inspection with your guys and our guys, and the whole team concludes there's nothing wrong with the machines. And then they tell that to Trump, and then Trump goes, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to go along with this anyway and keep saying that was rigged because that gave me a better chance to be the president. Okay, that makes sense, but that's not actually what happened. It never got to that point. So really just, again, I didn't read the whole thing. Perhaps there is more that I missed or didn't get to at the end. Maybe there's more smoking guns in it. I don't know. What are your thoughts? We got some videos to play also. Any other thoughts, at least?
Yeah, well, my final thoughts on like this debate and stuff is, the one good thing is, have you heard like the whole discovery side of this that Trump now is going to have to himself?
Yeah, so that's a good point.
So, okay, look, I'm not saying to trust these people. I don't know if I trust them. I am not an expert. I don't know if they are trustworthy people, but the Sidney Powells and the Rudy Giulianis and whatever these advisors found and whatever investigations took place in Arizona, but I think that was for Kerry Lake. It's not for Trump.
No. This is way before Kerry Lake.
So if Trump has no evidence, he's fucked, right? If he's just been wildly screaming this, I think he has something up his sleeve where he does have some type of evidence. And now, you know, with his discovery, he gets to tell his part of the story. He gets to show his findings, even though they're going to try and block that. But he might have the smoking gun to show it is rigged. And 5D chess. He waited till now to play this move. Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know, but
yeah, that's remains to be played out in court. It'll be interesting to see if this is like public, this court. Yeah, we could watch it.
I think it will. I think they're going to make a spectacle of this because they're going to want you to hate Trump, and I think it's gonna. This might be the boomerang. This might be the trump card. That this might be how you inject evidence into a trial legally. It should be. I think it's going to be interesting.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. It definitely will be interesting. Jack Smith did say he promises a speedy trial, which is good. I think let's wrap this up tomorrow. Let's go have the trial and let's sort this out.
Speedy trial the day before the election.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What does he mean exactly? Right. Yeah. This is going to take up some of Trump's time and money. Right. So there's going to be a resource drain like all the other cases there are. And I think there's even another case coming soon. I think we pivot real quick to some videos and a great tweet, which we'll share first. Not a tweet of the week, but an applicable.
This was very damning to see.
Yeah, sometimes things are just so obvious they're right in front of you. So this is by Greg Price, and it says June 7th, the FBI releases documents to Congress alleging the Bidens took a $10 million bribe from Burisma. June 8th, Jack Smith indicts Trump in the Mar-a-Lago docs case. July 26th, Hunter Biden goes to court and rejects a sweetheart plea deal after it was revealed the Department of Justice tried to give him blanket immunity from future prosecutions. July 27th, Jack Smith adds more charges for Trump in the Mar-a-Lago case. July 31st, Hunter Biden's former business partner testifies to Congress that Joe Biden was on over 20 calls with his son's business partners and that Burisma execs pressured them to fire the prosecutor. August 1st, Jack Smith indicts Trump again for January 6th. Look, I'm supposed to believe in three coincidences like that in a row. Yeah. I think I texted you and Garrett. I'm like, but there's the Greg Price did a great job, but he missed the UFO alien stuff. In there as well. Yeah. I think we've talked about that before. It seems like almost every time some major news about some corruption, deep state Biden stuff, there also was a UFO alien thing occurred like the next day or the same day. And I can't be expected to believe that. We've said many times, man, sometimes they do things that just so blatantly make no sense. Yeah. Like they told you, like Jen Psaki couldn't say eating better food be healthy. Yeah. Like this is it. This is similar to that for me. You expect me to believe that every time some major break, like we could theoretically have done the episode this week on the Biden stuff. We just chose, it's only so many hours, right? We chose to do Trump. So like we could have done on Biden, but now look, I can't be expected to believe that is just happenstance. That just happened by
coincidence. Yeah. And look, it's going to be funny now because where people are waking up to this pattern. I would like to see if Hunter gets charged with anything else. If the next day, like Georgia drops their indictment on Trump.
Next one. Yeah. How about like Trump gets in like something added to his thing, and then the next day the thing happens to Biden.
Yeah.
How about like one time it just happens in reverse?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every time it's literally the first thing happens to Biden, then the other thing happens to Trump. It never happens the other way just by chance.
And also, do you understand the plea deal that Hunter Biden was going for? Immunity from future prosecutions.
A pardon, basically. a presidential pardon without the president signing off on
anything that he might be found guilty of in the future. He's immune from it. Amazing.
A guy who's like obviously done illegal shit.
A crackhead. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to
amazing.
Let's go on. I want to hear Trump's response to this whole thing. We'll play that.
Country is in a very dark place right now. But even after everything the deep state has done to me, I will never give up on America. Mark my words. In 2024, we will win back the White House. We will make America great again. I have no doubt about it. They come at me from left. They come at me from right. The rhinos, the communists, the Marxists, the fascists. We will not only survive, we will be stronger than ever before. We're fighting a fight like nobody ever thought possible, and we're winning. We won in 2016. We had a rigged election in 2020, but got more votes than any sitting president. We're going to win like never before, and we're going to make America great again. I can truly say I believe better than ever before. Thank you for all of your support and for all of your prayers.
I don't know, man. What do you think? I thought that was pretty like milquetoast.
Yeah, it's not his exciting. Yeah,
not as like forceful as normally he comes out and gives specifics.
He's got a lot on his plate, but that's just me being biased. Something that occurred to me. We started this episode with talking how it's the first time we believe that there's a chance that there's not going to be a 2024 election. What if this all blows up in the deep state's face? Trump has this undeniable smoking gun, plays the Trump card. The Biden family goes down in flames. The DNC goes down in flames. The swamp gets, and Trump runs up unopposed in 2024. Yeah. What if it all backfires in the court system and just, you know what I mean?
What you're saying is Q was right at the end of the day. Yeah. I gotta be honest with you. I think the opposite is more likely.
Oh, probably, but
like the literal complete opposite.
Don't ever underestimate Trump, baby.
To happen. So I got another video for you guys here. I thought was applicable. This is Mike Pence himself. Yesterday, he's asked about this. He's going to kind of comment on things that were even in that indictment.
I was clear on that throughout. I was clear with President Trump throughout, all the way up to the morning of January 6th. But let's be clear on this point. It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued. So, Martha, I just people can read the indictment, and frankly, I've said before, I had hoped it had not come to this point. I don't know if the government can meet the standard, the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt for criminal charges, but the American people deserve to know that President Trump and his advisors didn't just ask me to pause. They asked me to reject votes, return votes, essentially to overturn the election, and to keep faith with the oath that I made to the American people and to Almighty God. I rejected that out of hand, and I did my duty that day.
Well, all right.
Hooray. Yeah. Not my fucking concern, pal.
Not my concern. This guy's running for president, right? He has to know what he just said is not going to win him any votes at all.
No,
right?
Yeah.
No Republican is now going to be like, wow, man, I mean, the honor of Mike Pence, I'm going to now forget Trump.
Yeah.
Forget I'm throwing my MAGA hat away, and I'm going to vote for Mike Pence now.
And you're still jumping. You're still jumping DeSantis and Vivek.
Right.
Okay. You're like, fuck those two guys.
Is this going to cause a Democrat to become a Republican and vote for Mike Pence?
Yeah, no.
Over
Joe Biden or Kamala or Michelle Obama or Newsom? No.
I'm brewing a tea here. So what my question to you is, like, what's Mike Pence doing?
Taking up space.
I'm serious, man. Like, what's he doing running for president? This whole time, I don't know. You want to go ahead before I answer my own question, or
no? I mean, it's conspiratorial. My answer here.
I'm going to be conspiratorial.
Just because he was the VP and he worked so closely with Trump, and obviously, like, you're not gaining. You said you gave America a big fuck you by saying we're not your concern, and now he's saying shit like this that is not going to flop any MAGA Republican
or Democrat,
or Democrat to voting for him. I think just because he was the VP, he's clearly been compromised. He's clearly been quote unquote flipped. That as the longer they keep him in the limelight and the longer they get remarks from him, they have something to go on and be like, see, this was his VP. This was the closest guy to him. It's just to pinpoint that little fact to give whatever shit they're spewing the validation.
Sure. So again, I'm going to make the point, like, why is he running for president? It doesn't seem like he wants to win. Like, what he just did was political suicide. He also had political suicide when we talked about last time with Tucker.
Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, and like before this, a lot of the videos I saw him talking and being asked questions, he's talking about January 6th. And I akin to calling him like the January 6th candidate. Like, I'm the guy who did the right thing on January 6th. That's why you should vote for me. But then this happens and it like falls in his lap so perfectly, right? Like, look, here's all this stuff that makes me look great and makes Trump look bad. And now this is why you should vote for me. I think he knows he has no chance. I literally think exactly what you're saying is he's running basically to be like, look, even Trump's vice president thought he was wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now like
this he's an arguing point for Democrats to win the argument.
Thank you. You just he's running as an argument point for the deep state.
Yeah.
That's what he's running to do. He has no actual even if he was just out there not talking about January 6th, he's got no polling numbers. He's not going to win at all. Then he's making points that are going to make him even less popular, but he's still running for president. That's a perfect way to put it. He's running as an argument point. That's the entire purpose of his campaign. That is suspicious in of itself. Why the fuck is someone running as an argument point candidate?
What did they promise him? Wouldn't it be funny now? Newsom gets into the White House, the right takes over, they out McCarthy and Mike Pence is now the Speaker of the House or something like that, right?
Maybe he gets a joop.
What did they promise him? A seat on the House, a seat in the Senate, a seat in the cabinet, Speaker.
Maybe they didn't even promise him anything. Maybe just like, hey, buddy, you're one of us, right?
Yeah.
You owe the take cause. One for the team, man. You got to help us out here, just do this and we'll leave you alone.
What did Russell Brand say? Beholden to the corruption.
Yeah. And we'll just leave you alone.
Yeah.
So third video here, I thought this is now the complete opposite, the complete polar opposite. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, him responding to this whole thing.
I want to be very clear. I am running for U.S. president in that same Republican primary. It would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition. That's not how I want to win. This is not about politics to me. This is about first principles. We do not want to become a country where the party in power is able to use banana republic-like tactics to eliminate its political opponents. Yet I'm sad to say that's exactly where we are. The allegations in this indictment fall flat. It is wrong and incorrect and inaccurate to place blame for what happened on January 6th at the feet of Donald Trump. I said this at the time. I've said it ever since then. I continue to say it today. I would not have made the same judgments that Donald Trump did in how he handled that day. But that's different from saying that he committed a crime. He did not. He specifically told the protesters that day to behave peacefully. The First Amendment in this country gives political protesters the ability to express themselves and their opinions freely. Donald Trump was not responsible for what happened on January 6th. You want to know what was responsible? I said this in the days after January 6, 2021, just as I say it today. Systematic, pervasive censorship in this country. That was after a year where we had told people across this nation that you had to stay locked down in your house, in your basement, and shut up, sit down, do as you're told. If you question that, you're racist, you're anti-science, your social media accounts were silenced. You had to stay home and lock down unless you were part of BLM or Antifa, in which case it was perfectly fine to roam the streets of this country and burn many of them down. That was the double standard that then applied and said that if you said the virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, you were again a racist and had your internet accounts shut down. You were then told you had an election where you could express yourself to put the right person in charge of fixing these problems, and instead, your accounts were suppressed if you sent a mere message saying that the Hunter Biden laptop story from the New York Post was real. You had your accounts locked. Even the New York Post had its own account locked. And if you repeatedly then tell people they cannot speak, that is when they scream. If you repeatedly tell people they cannot scream, that is when they tear things down. And I think we are making a grave mistake in this country by trying to pin the blame for that at the feet of one man. If we refuse to learn our mistakes from our mistakes in the past, we are doomed to suffer an even worse fate in the future. I worry that will create a country where January 6, 2021 was a friendly parlay compared to what's actually to come. I'm running for president to make sure we don't march towards some kind of national divorce. But the first and most important step that we as candidates can take in this race is to speak and speak forcefully on the side of principle, to say that even if we're competing against Donald Trump, as I am, I do not want to see him eliminated from competition using these politicized tactics. It is wrong for our country. It is wrong for our future. I call on my fellow candidates to condemn it, and I call on President Biden to do the right thing and drop these politicized charges. That's going to be a first step towards uniting our country.
I got to say, man, if Vivek is, deep state double agent, he's going to, a lot of people are going to got because he's
including us.
One of the best. I guess he lost your vote because he doesn't want a national divorce and you want to fuck this shit up, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I want to make the point, man. In 3 minutes and 47 seconds, he basically summarized 3 years of our podcast and everything we've spoken about. Like to the T. National divorce, possible civil war, censorship, the lab leak,
COVID.
In 3 minutes and 47 seconds, he just summarized.
Guy's good.
400 or 500 hours of us talking.
Guy's good. Yeah. I was thinking that. I was like, two men shadow banned. We have a whole account that we openly labeled as shadow banned because Instagram shut us down.
Yeah.
For those exact reasons. Sure. Twitter shut us down for those exact reasons.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think that was good. It was honorable. Obviously, I really do like Vivek a lot. There are things I disagree with him over. I do like national divorce, and I think some of his other positions are insane, like going to war with the cartels. Mm-hmm. But he's really good overall. I think this is super honorable. I don't know, man. He's so good, it almost makes me like weary, just like RFK. Yeah. But then at the same time, I think there's some like Stockholm syndrome or like – they're trying. I feel like
it's so bad.
Anytime it's so bad. Yeah, I know, but I also think that could be part of the thing too. Like they've demoralized everyone. Yeah, they've demoralized everyone so far that you can never celebrate a win. Anyone who comes along and starts sounding the right way, you have to dismiss. Nah, that can't be. I don't know. Sometimes, man, people actually step up. We're always talking about like, God damn it, where's like the leader that is going to come along and fix this whole thing? But then when he does, everyone's like, I don't know, man. This guy's a pharma psyop deep state plant. I mean, maybe, but Elon Musk, another example.
Yeah. If we get to the 2024 election and truly no justice is served on either side, like Trump gets out of all his charges, Biden skates by with not being connected to Hunter Biden gets all his, found innocent, and it comes down to Trump v. Biden for the 2024 election, that's it. It's civil war, people, because at the end of the day, if Biden wins, everybody is going to say it was a rigged election. Biden didn't truthfully win. And if Trump wins, Russian interference, no one, unless there is justice between now and the election, I think, there's no, we might as well not have an election, because no matter the result, half the nation, or however big the political parties truly are, is going to say this election was fake.
This is kind of maybe like the point of our whole conversation here. I think maybe the most likely outcome that doesn't end in complete insanity, perhaps, is that Trump just wins, and God damn it, they just give up. Like, damn it, we tried, or maybe not give up, but they just let it go for a time. Maybe like for and they and then hopefully he actually makes some progress in those 4 years, and maybe like the masses, like, I don't know, these leftists, like, what are they going to really do? Maybe they don't have like the balls to actually really do anything about it.
Well, they don't like working out because it's racist, so they're not going to raise up against us.
Exactly. I think another interesting scenario would be like if they actually do somehow get Trump and eliminate him off the ballot before the GOP primary happens. Who's going to win the GOP primary if there even is one? Or
no,
if we don't end up in some war.
I think they'll wait. I think
they'll wait until
so then he could run unopposed. So whoever the nominee for the left is can run unopposed.
All right, so
that would be the smartest move.
So entertain me. Let's remove Trump from the GOP primary. Let's say it happens and there is no war. People don't go crazy and whatnot. Like, I think, my opinion, I think Vivek, man, he's going to get it if that's what happens. I think Vivek has endeared himself enough now to Trump people, and DeSantis has unendeared himself so goddamn bad to Trump people that I think the Trump people, some of them probably won't vote, but I think enough of them are going to then vote for Vivek, where he ends up actually as the nominee.
I think Trump would end up with the most write-in votes ever in the history of an election. But yes, if Trump was eliminated prior to the primary, I think Vivek would explode in the polls.
He would. I think all the Trump support would fall to him. Now, man, if what we're saying is true, and he is some psyop deep state actor, boy, wouldn't that be some perfect chess by the deep state?
That's
clear. I don't think that. I don't think that's the case, but
I don't know yet, and I still don't know yet about Ron DeSantis. But I mean, we started this episode off by talking about how the DNC and the deep state is really covering all their bases. If war in Russia doesn't work out, we got war with China. World War III, nuclear attacks, climate change crisis, all these indictments.
Backup plan.
Why wouldn't they have a deep state or two deep state or three deep state guys running in the GOP?
I mean, I think me and you both legitimately think that
Mike Pence
is maybe not a deep state person, but acting on their behalf in this regard.
Well, if he's acting on their behalf,
taking marching orders from them, maybe he's not like in there in the boardroom making executive decisions. No. But I think definitely
he's a foot soldier.
He's been given a memo or something, perhaps, to serve this role as the argument person. So the whole thing is interesting, man. I guess as usual, we will see, and we will try to cover it as best we can.
We'll have receipts.
Probably try and read that indictment if you have time, although it is long.
Are we going to do tweets of the week?
Yeah, I think we got to do, man.
Let's get out of here because I got some drinking to do.
Yeah, and we got some good ones this week. We're going to start off with yours here, Cap, which I had to screenshot because I am blocked by Occupy Democrats. Go ahead.
Occupy Democrats. Lisa has a point, and it's a picture of Lisa Simpson in front of a screen. If felons can't vote, then felons should not be allowed to run for president. Coming from the political party that is in favor of having felons vote.
Yeah.
Am I missing something here? Did something go over my head? Because the Democrats want felons to vote as long as they're not voting for so now they're okay with felons not voting because it means a felon can't run for president. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yeah, and this is also perfectly timed right around this whole thing.
Yeah,
with Trump rather than trying to make him a felon. Yeah, I mean, I actually enjoy that I don't follow this page anymore because they blocked me. Like I don't need the stress in my life. All right, this is a controversial one, boys. This is
I like the
libertarian.
X. I like the X. I'm sorry. Fuck everybody who's complaining. I like the X. Fuck that little blue bird. Piece of shit. I like the X.
All right. Yeah. I guess this is still tweets of the week, but I don't know. Are they even called tweets anymore? So I don't know. We're still calling tweets of the week. So anyway, this is the Libertarian Party.
Oh, boy, you had a war.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're quote tweeting Nina Turner, who's a Democratic Socialist type person. And Nina Turner said, insulin should be free. Medicine should be free. And the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire says Nina Turner picking crops should be free. This ignited a fucking war zone.
Yes, it
on
did.
Twitter for about 2 or 3 days. Obviously, right? The low-hanging fruit, accusations of racism and stuff like that against the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and those guys there. It's worth noting that like libertarians got to number 9 on the trending topics of the day, which I thought was actually a good point.
Wake some people up
by the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. Like, look, I know these guys. Like, I don't know them in person, but I know with Jeremy Kauffman, we've played a couple of his clips on this before, and Reed Coverdale and some of these other guys. Like, they're not racists. Like, I know they're not. I know the point they're trying to make here. I spent the entire day trying to make the actual point instead of trying to be a subversive troll like they were trying to be, which is essentially nothing is free at all. There's no such thing as a free thing. So if you're advocating for something to be free,
it has to be slavery.
Right. They're making the comparison. They're not saying it's the exact same thing as slavery, like Nina Turner tried to say later on. They're making the comparison to, if you're saying something's free, that means that somewhere, somehow, somebody is a slave to someone else who's producing a thing for free, whether that be insulin or medicine. Like, there are people who work in the medicine factory. Are we going to not pay them to make the medicine? Is the company supposed to just pay them to not make it and then not make any money from selling it?
No profit.
So are the workers supposed to be slaves, or are the companies supposed to be slaves? Is the company supposed to be a slave? Or what Nina Turner is really trying to say is that the government should pay for everyone's insulin and medicine, right? And that's how it should be free. Right now, that's where you really piss off libertarians. So how do we pay for insulin?
Taxes.
And through taxes, right? And what is taxes? It's theft. They're stealing money from you to then give you something that you then think is free, or they're printing it through the Federal Reserve, causing inflation and robbing the value of your dollar, making your dollar worthless and making you worse off. They're not making the point that no one should have insulin or that medicine shouldn't be available cheaply to people. The point is that nothing is free. And when you live in some fantasy world like Nina Turner, where you just say things are free with zero context,
or you just get paid to toe the line.
Yeah, but you're like conditioning people to think that way, that these things can be free. Nothing is fucking free. Everything takes labor. I want to go outside and move a rock, right? Like, it didn't cost me any money, but I needed to move it with calories,
strength
in my
time.
body, and time. Time costs money. So nothing is free. I thought there was a lot of debate around if this works or not with the Libertarian Party posting these crazy takes. I think this one actually was worth it, in my opinion. It really sparked some conversation around the whole thing that kind of challenges people's perception in the Overton window to some extent. I thought it was actually pretty valuable. What do you think about that? I remember we had on Professor Giordano, and we actually had a tweet of the week that was a Libertarian Party New Hampshire tweet, and it was John McCain's funeral, and they wrote "Happy Holidays" on his funeral. And remember Professor Giordano was like, I don't like this. This isn't going to win anybody to your side or anything like that. What is your take as someone who's not as deep down the libertarian hole?
Well, I mean, I'm well versed in it, and I might not be well versed, but I understand it. I dip my feet in the pool plenty. So, upon doing research and reading what you guys were saying in this whole war that was going on, I did follow it slightly for the first day. I understand it, so I don't really have this bizarre take on it. Nina Turner, is just towing the line, playing the race card. Those are her only two weapons in this argument. You're either racist or you got to toe the line. She's not going to, because I remember at one point you said she hasn't learned her lesson. You know what I'm saying? Because she probably learned the lesson, or she probably understands the lesson, but she can't physically put that on. She can't put that out. That's against her brand on Twitter.
I think I was making the point of she's now been introduced to enough libertarian ideology and theory. She's got to have read by accident someone's tweet that makes sense. And the fact that she hasn't acknowledged that or even given a grant, like a grain that kind of makes sense, is suspicious in my opinion. She even actually replied to me a few times, and I didn't take the mean antagonistic thing. I tried,
fuck you, bitch.
I tried to make a good point, and I tried to even, I think, tell her to go on one of these guys' podcasts and discuss it, because that's where sometimes people's minds can be changed. So I think she's a little bit of a nefarious actor who says these things because they get she's engagement brokering. If you say these things,
she just needed to toe the line.
And but I do think what they did is valuable, because maybe Nina Turner didn't learn her libertarian lesson, but I guarantee you someone in there saw something someone like me or one of these other libertarian guys said, and we're like, holy shit, I never fucking thought of it that way before. That's a good point. And you maybe changed someone's mind to an extent. Now, maybe you've also
might have been a white pill.
Yeah, maybe you've also changed somebody's mind and make them think that libertarians are racist, which we're not. But I don't know that I appreciate the New Hampshire party because they're actually doing something, regardless of good or bad or whatever. They're really trying to like push the envelope somehow by being trolls. So I appreciate them for that. All right. Let's go on maybe to my next one because you don't have as many as me, so we'll break them up.
No, I think I got 3.
Yeah. All right. This is by Ted Lieu. He's a congressperson. And he said, the Twitter community note at the bottom of this tweet is stupid. Putting women in jail for concealing an abortion as compared to having an abortion is not the winning message that Republicans think it is. What's he referring to? He's referring to a woman who got arrested for. Let's read the community note. It says prosecutors did not charge Celeste Burgess under Nebraska's abortion law. She pleaded guilty to removing or concealing human skeletal remains, a felony. Prosecutors agreed to drop 2 misdemeanor charges, concealing a death and false reporting. The other context thing says the teen was not sentenced for having a chemically induced abortion during her 3rd trimester, but for burning, burying, and concealing a dead body.
Yeah, this was the girl who gave birth and destroyed the baby, right?
Yeah, burnt it and its bones alive.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, this is just another liberal piece of shit towing the line to make an argument point against Republicans when, it's a whole different case here. This isn't an abortion case. This is a murder case.
How do you defend this?
Oh, I know how he defends this. Because if we left it up to the Democrats, forget having an abortion at 9 months. You could have an abortion at 18 years. Okay, just bring in your broken teenager. Just be like, I can't do this anymore. And they just shoot him or her in the fucking office and go, baby aborted.
Yeah. Look, man, I feel like a lot of our listeners are probably pretty sane people. Yeah, for the most part, are rational people. Just think about this. A Democratic congressperson is defending a woman who burned a dead baby alive. Not alive, I'm sorry. Burned the corpse of a dead baby. This is like heinous Ted Bundy shit, right? That's happening here to some extent. And a Democrat congressperson is saying, well, the community notes on this is ridiculous. That, because it's an abortion, everyone has a right to abortion or something. But I mean, and he's saying that he don't think that that's the winning message that Republicans think it is. Nobody, I think that whatever the fuck you're trying to say is not
that's
the winning
losing message.
It is. Yeah. And abortion is a very polarizing issue. But boy, I don't think many people are going to read that and think like highly of what Ted Lieu just said. All right, let's go on to your next tweet.
Oh, yes, this was a little bit older, from Hillary Clinton. Hot enough for you? Thank a MAGA Republican, or better yet, vote them out of office. Phoenix hits record for 19th day of 110 plus degrees in a row. 39-day heat wave could last into August. We are in uncharted territory. That's a lie. World record hottest day. That's a lie.
She actually shared that one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so what this is Hillary Clinton is complaining about the
climate change
heat wave saying it was climate change. News flash first and foremost here. It's summer. It gets hot in the summer.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking crisis. You know what would be a fucking crisis? If I opened my windows right now and there was 6 inches of snow outside, that would be a crisis. Okay. Yeah. A snowstorm in the middle of August. That's number one. Just because it's hot out does not mean it's a crisis.
Newsflash, summertime hot.
Yeah. Yeah. And number two, MAGA Republicans control the weather?
Weather wizards. Yeah.
What? I think I left a comment. Even if we voted these Republicans out of office, the summer would still be hot. Even if we paid into the new Green Deal the way you want to, even if we followed all of your climate measures that you want to, Phoenix would still have the 19th day of 110 plus degrees in a row.
Yeah. Let's real quick, let me break down how propaganda works, folks. She's taking climate change, something some people feel is an existential threat to humanity or whatever, right? And then she's trying to use that threat, that fear that you have, and blame it on a scapegoat. It's, you need to blame MAGA Republicans for climate change, this thing that might render the world uninhabitable. It's a crazy thing to think of, right? Like literally, the earth might be uninhabitable because of MAGA Republicans. So they're the evil persons. You should outcast them and you should support my team because we're going to save you all from the end of humanity on earth and all this stuff. And what does their plan to save everyone from climate change entail? Centralizing more power in government, forcing the market into other areas it doesn't organically want to go, yet that they happen to be heavily invested in. Yeah, that's how we're going to save, the earth from climate change. Doing exactly what Hillary Clinton, of all people. I mean, the fact that they're even using her as like a fucking spokesperson for climate change is just dumb. She has no credibility with the majority of people. They should just be like, listen, lady, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We have a psyop to run here on
Call
everybody.
it quits.
You're not helping.
Yeah.
You know?
All
right, yeah, let's go. Where are we at? Oh,
I think your third or fourth one.
All right, so this is from Louis J. Gomez, a comedian. This is hysterical. He goes, does a G.I. Joe eat Barbie's ass in the movie? If not, it's nothing like my childhood memories.
G.I. Joe always banged out Barbie.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day when you were kids. Yep. I thought that one was fucking
Ken
funny.
was a little cuck.
That made me laugh out loud. All right, let's go over here.
All right. Scott Dworkin. Joe Biden is president. Hunter Biden is not. Get over it. Joe Biden took money from Hunter Biden. Joe Biden made money from foreign agents by forcing his son to be the head executive of an oil company overseas while he was vice president. This is treasonous.
Yeah. This is like the standard bad excuse for the Biden corruption.
Yeah.
Okay, no one gives a fuck about Hunter Biden. It's the connection with Joe, who's the president, has been there forever. That's what people care about. It's funny, the fucking crack and the hookers and that shit. At the end of the day, like, majority of people are concerned over, like, hey, what's going on here? The Burisma, it smells fishy. He's got no experience in the oil industry. What the fuck's going on there? We're at war now in Ukraine. All this shit. So this is like,
again, they tried making it so simple, but
these points, they don't work. Use better propaganda.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So and this same guy, if Eric Trump was found guilty, would be saying, well, then Donald Trump must be guilty.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they're related. Yep. All right, we'll wrap it up here. Get two more. They're pretty good. This one is just, this is where men are at nowadays. This is from Congressman Greg Kasser. He goes, after no water for nearly 9 hours on the Capitol steps, I'm more confident than ever that we're going to make a positive change in this country for working people, including winning the right to basic water breaks. Workers everywhere are counting on a federal heat rule. Wow, he didn't drink water for 9 hours. 9 whole hours.
You want to show me something impressive? Don't drink water for 4 days.
Yeah. And like he's spinning. That look, his tie is like loosely undone to make himself look. He's not even sweating. Maybe he's not sweating because he didn't drink any water for 9 hours. He's got nothing in him. Dude, I don't know. We go hunting. I dehydrate myself before we go hunting, right? Because I don't want to take a piss while I'm up in a fucking tree, and I'll be out there for 12 hours or more, right? In the freezing
if you're
cold.
Dehydrated for 6 hours, it's okay. You'll live.
Yeah, like this is not impressive. This is pathetic that you're trying to like spin this as you being a hero.
And
is standing on steps for 9 hours without drinking water.
Is the Democratic Party in such disarray that you need to run on having more water breaks at work?
Well, more water breaks at work. I mean, yeah, who the fuck is even telling someone at work if you're thirsty you can't get
every
water?
Job I've ever worked, every office I've been in, every field operation I've been on, everyone sits around with a water bottle.
Like, do we need to get the government involved in regulating water breaks now? Give me a fucking break.
Could you imagine you walk out into your office over all the people that you oversee? It is now 10:15. Please stand up and drink your water. Your government regulated water.
Break. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My final tweet, and it is the tweet of the week for me. It's by our good buddy, Alan Jacoby. And he says, I'm tired of the Q-tards who make it their mission to make MAGA look bad. Trump is not the president. JFK is dead. The emergency broadcast system is not going to come through your TV and tell you Donald Trump is president. You are stupid. Get the fuck out of our way. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for saying what needed to be said. As someone who's like a leader, a notable person in the MAGA movement, this shit is retarded. It's not fucking happening. The planes showing the video of like planes. Look, planes are moving around today. This means something. And it never does, but they keep doing that all the time. Stop, please. Let's fucking operate in the real world and do something good. That's what Alan is saying here. Kudos to him for fucking saying that. I appreciate it.
Everything this guy just said is bullshit.
Good. It's a great movie.
Yep.
My cousin Vinny.
Yes, sir.
Let's wrap it up, man. That was a little bit of a long episode. But
yes, it was.
It needed a deep dive. So thank you, everybody, for listening.
This was an informative episode of the Two Dude Men podcast. I hope you guys are still here. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We are getting great interaction. Just get those follows up, people. If you see us, shoot us a follow. We greatly appreciate it.
Share the show by word of mouth too. I feel like that's more effective than subscribing and then people don't have time. Word of mouth is always the most popular way to share something. If you like us, tell people, hey, I know these guys, Two Dude Men, they're idiots, but they make good points sometimes. You should watch their show.
There we go. So Doom Nation, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week. Adios, guys.